Yonghong, would you please come here and I think we so since Peter is presenting in person here, so he does not have to be a panelist. Yeah, oh, it's okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I know everyone enjoyed the lunch, the Mexican lunch.
Yes.
And then, so I'm glad that we have some relaxing time for lunch. And now let's go back to work. We are going to continue our session. Hi, online attendees. Good afternoon. We are going to have our session, the current context, union and administrations. So we have, for this session, we scheduled 2 presenters. I just got an email from Gina Hassan that she cannot be here, but she's here in Niagara Falls, but she just cannot be here. So for this session, we only have one presenter, Peter Wylie. And also I want to announce that between this session and next session, it seems we had some additional 20 minutes break because Janice Harper, as I said, also cannot be here today. So we will start a little bit late.
Martin is taking Janice's place.
Martin is taking Janice's place.
Yes.
Yeah, we can stay on time.
Stay on time.
Yeah.
2:35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry about that. Just got some confused information. So that's easier. Then we will stay on time, stay on our schedule. Thank you. Now let's welcome Peter Wylie's presentation. Give us a presentation. His presentation topic is Shoot a Message, a personal account of academic mobbing on a Canadian campus. Please.
Could you put up my slide? You have the slide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So you have to be here because you're talking.
Oh, I have to be over there.
Yeah, I'm going to just.
Okay.
One page
One
slides,
page,
I
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
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 Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is not going to fall asleep session after lunch. I was going to try to put everything in 20 minutes, but I guess I have a bit more time.
Yes.
So I can take my time a little bit, but I don't want to bore you too much. I am honored to be given this opportunity to present my mobbing case at this great conference, actually. Just to say a little about myself, I was a successful academic at 3 universities, well, 2 universities and 1 university college. I had tenured all 3, and I retired in 2021 after 37 years of teaching, research, and service. I did have a bad experience as a whistleblower at my first university, but I'm not going to go into that case. However, as a result of my experience at my first university, I moved across the country in Canada from east to west. And I went to a university college, which was later incorporated into a large regional university in the west of Canada. Just to put this up, my presentation is not going to deal with the factual case of my mobbing case. I have another document that's about 12 pages, single spaced, and it would have taken too long to present all of that. So I'm just going to focus on the lessons that my mobbing case at this second campus of the large regional university between 2012 to 2021. I think my mobbing case built up over a number of years, maybe 10 years or more. So the facts of my case are available in another document, but if you wish to have that, I'd be glad to send it to you if you just send me an email. Okay. So in this presentation, I'll focus on what I've concluded to be the lessons my academic mobbing experience point to with respect to intramural academic freedom, the freedom to criticize the university itself, that's your employer, freedom to criticize your employer. And I'll also concentrate on the chilling effect university statements on respectful workplace environments are having on intramural academic freedom and how they are encouraging academic mobbing. I've identified 6 areas. I don't have PowerPoints, so you're going to have to try to listen to me. I've identified 6 areas to discuss. The first, which you probably have all experienced, is the demise of shared academic governance at our universities. A comment made to the press by a Columbia University professor in May 2024, observing the recent on-campus protests regarding the war in Gaza and the administration bringing in the police, was that the old idea that the university is a community of scholars is definitely dead. Yeah. In my own experience, this is indeed the case. No longer can faculty say, as a Columbia University member told President Eisenhower, I think in the 1950s, at the faculty body, that we are the university. You can't say that anymore. Universities today are administrative corporations, and as Henry Rostaby, then president of Harvard, said in the 80s, the quality of the university campus is likely negatively correlated with the unrestrained power of administration. No longer do administrators work for the faculty and staff of the university. The faculty and staff work for the administrators. And as a mere faculty member, you're called out for insubordination or disrespect if you criticize the administration, and it will academically mob you if you do. Intramural academic freedom is certainly dead in our campuses. This is an power imbalance, the professor versus the university, i.e. the administration. This is what Ginsburg termed the all-administrative university in the fall of the faculty. I was a whistleblower who exposed minor malfeasance of university administrators. But if you embarrass and ruffle the feathers in administration, no matter how minor the matter, you will be in trouble. You will be mobbed. The deans and directors in my own case had an extraordinarily hypersensitivity to scrutiny, transparency, and by investigations of an elected senator. And my exposure of minor administrative malfeasance on their part. The modern university's version of shared academic governance is blind acceptance by the faculty of the authority of the administration, lest you be called out for insubordination and disrespect. One cannot question the administration even in Senate. As a faculty member, one must go along with the administration to get along with the administration. Moreover, my university's policy on appropriate use of information states that university persons must not use data or information to which they have access in a way that could be detrimental to the university. There must be no criticism of the university persons or the university itself that harms the reputation of the university. As one commentator noted, we will rue the day we hired professional administrators to run the university. University of Chicago's statement on academic freedom states it's essential for faculty to be able to discuss any problems that present themselves without a vibrant community of free and open inquiry. A university ceases to be a university. So on these criteria, my university has ceased to be a university, really. In my view, the right of academic staff, in particular senators, to speak freely and question university policy and administration is fundamental to any university. Do universities today function by promoting critical and free inquiry and debate? Not when it comes to the university itself. So that's the first area, the decline of shared academic governance. The second area I'd like to discuss is the chilling effect of respectful environment statements that have become a bit of a vogue. Respectful environment statements have become instruments that encourage bullying and mobbing of faculty who criticize union staff, union and university administrators, and the university itself. Criticism of the faculty union and the university administration has become, as I found in my own case, bullying and harassment and disrespect. As Ginsburg noted, faculty members with the temerity to question the university administration will be cited for demonstrating a shameful lack of civility. I understand that the First Amendment of the US Constitution states that civility is not a precondition for freedom of speech, but in Canada, in 2015, a university case in the courts, civility was upheld as overriding academic freedom. In other words, respect winning out over freedom of expression. At my own university, its respectful environment statement, which appeared in 2008 from the administration, no consultation or input from faculty and staff, which did not go through the normal channels of board of government policies. They call it a policy, but it's not officially a policy. Is used to stifle academic debate on campus, especially for the administration. I challenged my administration many times and was mobbed by the administration. Collegiality is now interpreted to mean congeniality. It's the job of the faculty to agree with the administration, lest they be cited for disrespect. My university's respectful environment statement states, freedom of expression cannot exist without respect for others, in ways that respect the dignity of others. One person's freedom of expression cannot be allowed to trample the well-being of others. So you can't really question the actions of somebody else. It puts them in a bad light. In a letter to me from my provost, they stated, while all faculty members are free to voice opinions, may I remind you that in doing so, one must take care to avoid accusations or insinuations that impugn the intentions, character, and reputation of others. One cannot taint or stain the reputation or authority of others, and there can be no allowance for unwanted or disrespectful behavior or unwarranted criticism, which the university decides what is unwarranted and what isn't. Usually it is unwarranted if it's criticism. My university's human resource department actually in print promotes a platinum rule for the university, which they say is superior to a golden rule of behavior. Platinum rule: treat others in the way that they would want to be treated. So, or as Forrest Gump's mother told him, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So respectful environment statements allow human resources officers and senior administrators to prey on faculty members they deem to be disrespectful, especially to management, and it's the main mobbing tool in the administration's arsenal against faculty and staff. There's so many cases in my own university of faculty being called out for disrespect. Although the statements have formal complaint and investigation procedures, there's supposed to be a complaint and then an investigation. In my own university, there need be no complaints or investigations to be tarred and feathered as disrespectful by deans and provosts, just from their own office and from their own laptops with no due process. One can be disciplined and threatened with dismissal for what they deem as judge, jury, and executioner as disrespectful or in violation of university policy. With so-called policy actually being just a construct solely of administration and human resources, not consulted and passed through the normal channels of academic governance. So I was so preyed upon under these statements. One must be nice, respectful, Stepford faculty. Criticism of the administration cannot exist if administrators have such hypersensitivity that they take all criticism as personal and disrespectful. Academic freedom is vulnerable if it depends on the interpretation placed by administrators on the remarks of faculty members. Intramural academic freedom requires faculty to play a major role in academic governance, but if they don't speak up, say in Senate, and ask questions out of fear of reprisal or retaliation by administration, there's not much worth of academic freedom and shared governance. And it's the administration thought police who decides what's respectful. What is disrespectful? The third area has been touched on here and there in the conference already, is the professionalization of faculty associations and unions. We should also rue the day that we allowed our faculty associations and unions to be run by professional staff rather than by the faculty themselves. In my experience, these staff ally themselves with human resources staff representing management rather than with members of the association or union. They go along with management in order to get along with management. And more often than not, take the side of management in disputes. This is what's referred to as sweetheart unionism. I have a paper on that. I was targeted and ostracized for my elected duties and mocked by both the administration and the professional union staff, both working in complicity and collusion in order that I wouldn't upset this relationship. They both went to extraordinary lengths to keep this relationship intact, with interchangeable letters to me that I should cease and desist in helping union, I was an elected union representative, in helping union members in their problems with the university. This was the role of the professional staff. My criticism of the state of affairs was met by my union tar brushing me with no due process whatsoever as a bully and harasser of their staff. When I criticized the union for this, I was accused of bullying and harassing the union staff. At my university, union professional staff also like to prey on faculty members who threaten their power under their own and their university's respectful environment statements and bullying and harassment policies. So the all administration union could be added to the all administration university. And the union adds its weight to the mobbing of individual faculty members on on the side of management. You can't criticize the union professional staff either. Union, of course, has a monopoly of representation of the members to the management. So you can't go out and get your own lawyer or anything. On the side of management, faculty members are completely excluded from handling the affairs of the union. So the model faculty member rarely can look to their union for support, in my experience. That's just my university, but I don't know if it's like that anywhere else. The union is just as wedded to the concept of respect over freedom of expression as the management is, and fully buys in without complaint on the administration's respectful environment apparatus of repression. Union at my university is completely silent on the mobbing of faculty members under the diktat respectful environment statements of the university. Okay, that's 3 areas, if you're keeping count. My 4th area that I was going to highlight is the kangaroo court of external investigations at the universities. My own experience, and the experience I know of other faculty members at my and other universities, the external investigation process, so favored by the union administration over alternative dispute handling mechanisms such as mediation, are a further tool used by both in academic mobbing of these faculty member victims. In my own case, the external investigation was a cover-up and whitewash, kangaroo court and star chamber totalitarian exercise. Misinformation, alternative facts, denial of the truth, and a massive Kafkaesque personal and professional trial, conviction, and defamation of myself as an elected senator. The fact that the deans, directors, and administration were backed up by the hilt by the administrator's investigation, and also that the investigation was deemed proper by the faculty union, confirmed to me that my university and its union were somewhat rotten to the core. Okay. The 5th area I'd like to discuss, I may have time to go into some of the details of my case, but it's the demise of the primacy of the facts and the truth at the university. The demise of the primacy of the facts and the truth. My understanding had always been that, and to quote from a 2011 University Canada statement on academic freedom, that evidence and truth are the guiding principles for universities. Faculty must be free to examine data and therefore be guided by evidence. This is in fact not the case in my own university, as I found out. In my own case, I was told that the truth and the facts were outside of the terms of reference of the investigation. It's because they came out 4 weeks after the investigator was hired. So she said, these facts that are now revealed can form no part of my, it was outside of the terms of reference. It was found by the investigator that my exposing minor managerial malfeasance at my university was a vexatious and malicious act. I was cited for malice in exposing the truth. Truth was no defense. Well, it was outside the terms of reference, but it is no defense. Truth is no defense under the university's respectful environment statement. There is no defense. If it harms reputation and negatively affects others, then you're guilty. That is enough to be convicted and mocked. Truth, fair comment, and qualified privilege, the 3 defenses of defamation in the civil courts, are no defense in the university's court of deemed disrespect to the administration. So Harvard University had this motto of veritas, truth, it is harder, sort of thing. It doesn't necessarily wash at all. It no longer matters if what you say is true and correct. So this is a totalitarian state of affairs of shoot the messenger, I found. Reading the investigator's report in my own case, the facts and the truth were, in the eyes of the university administration, merely one opinion and a selective choice of data. Facts and the truth are a selective choice of data. Facts, truth and lies, facts and alternative facts are deemed to be opposing opinions. And that one must consider, along with the truth and the facts, alternative facts. And in order to be fair and balanced, you must consider both the truth and the untruth. Apparently, I failed to do this on insisting on the true facts. One instance was the dean got up in the Senate and said there was no issue here. And I was cited for ignoring that by the administration. I didn't factor in the fact that the dean had given her word that there was no problem. But then the facts came out that there was, and that she had lied in Senate. But I was deemed to be not fair in accepting her denial. Anyway. Okay, so my university has no overriding preference for the facts and the truth. Okay, that's my fifth area. How am I doing for time? I lost it. The last area I would like to consider is the personal consequence on mobbing victims of these sort of processes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. As a personal toll in my own case, all of my lifelong held beliefs and values of truth, facts, and evidence were challenged by the fabrications, intimidations, and corresponding events. This rendered me quite confused in a state of personal and professional existential crisis and cognitive disconnect. I did not know quite what or who to believe in after these processes. I no longer had faith and belief, and still do not, in what I thought were the values of a university such as my own, of freedom of inquiry and conclusions based on facts, evidence, and truth. I lost my faith entirely in my own university, and I find it mentally destabilizing and actually physically nauseating to set foot on campus, but I avoid doing that. The issues I brought to the attention of the administration were not my own problems. I was bringing them as a union representative and a senator I brought them up on behalf of other faculty members and students, seeking redress for some minor fraud on the part of the administration. So conduct of my own, such as an elected senator exposing and seeking redress for students for a fairly minor bit of administrative fraud and misrepresentation in a fairly minor program, in a fairly minor corner of the university, led to serious consequences for myself. Administrators certainly doth protesteth too much in their attempted cover-up and suppression of evidence and academic mobbing of myself for uncovering and prosecuting the facts. The other personal indignity was that the only defense and excuse I could offer for my behavior at the end of the process as a faculty member in having a commitment to the truth and the facts and due diligence in carrying out my role as a senator was I could either offer a profuse apology for my behavior or I could plead an abnormal medical condition. This is very 1984, communist China. So I don't think universities and union officials should continue to mob and shoot the messengers. I think they should begin to address the problems and listen to their problems. There's a large toll on the well-being and careers of those involved in these matters. Rather than mobbing me, I would have preferred my university to value my contributions to teaching, research, and service, and my performance as an engaged professor, my defense of academic freedom, university integrity, and my contributions in Canada and abroad. I'm secure in the knowledge that almost all professors and students that I've ever come in contact with value these contributions, even if my university, for whatever it is, and as expressly demonstrated, doesn't. University denied me professor emeritus status that I was due. Anyway, however, I do feel, for what it's worth, that I and others involved secured at least a moral victory in these affairs. And I am at least content in the knowledge that I had and have the truth and the facts on my side, something the university and the union administrators cannot claim to have ever had. But what worth is a moral victory? I hope this conference will begin us on a path to turn these moral victories into real ones in the halls of academia. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Peter, I really enjoyed your presentation, and I think you very succinctly, highlighted what the current era is all about.
Right.
It's neoliberal climate, particularly with administrative bloat. Your reference to Ginsburg, which is an important book. I highly recommend everyone read that book, because it's a very serious wake-up call. And I'm going to talk a bit later about this, but especially with politicians and business leaders now becoming senior administrators. And I have to say, this morning when I watched CNN, I was rather happy to hear that Joe Manchin's considering running for president of the United States, because that means he's not going to be the president of my university. So I'm happy to hear that. This isn't, having given praise to your paper, I want to throw just something out to the audience in general, just based on, obviously I haven't heard all the papers, right? And we still have a full roster to go. But there's something missing in the analysis that I've heard today. And forgive me, I'm just a sociologist, so I'll put my biases up front. This was not said, but somewhat suggested, that the universities and colleges somewhat operate in a vacuum. And a lot of the discussions today were talking about interpersonal dynamics, relationships between administrators and faculty, faculty administrative relationships, faculty, student, faculty. What I see missing in the literature I've read, and I'm not an expert, I defer to the folks in this room who have years and years of experience, more than I probably will ever have. But what I find missing is the influence of broader political, economic, and social forces on the university. Our universities don't operate in a vacuum, and let's consider Florida, for example, which you want to talk about stifling academic freedom. I'd hate to teach at a Florida university right now, especially a person like me who's a critical criminologist who emphasizes, race, class, and gender. God forbid we want to talk about critical race theory there. God knows what will happen. But I think what we need to do in terms of answering the question of what is to be done about mobbing or any other type of abuse that we endure in our institutions of higher learning is also challenge the politicians, because they are certainly the hostility that we're seeing. At least I'm Canadian too, but working in the United States. And God forbid if Polyev gets to office in Canada, you're going to see a whole new wave of assaults on academic freedom. But I think we also have to hold our politicians accountable, because they are facilitating this mobbing. I mean, many of us are terrified, in West Virginia, which is the Trumpist state in the union. It's also the whitest state in the union, 98.7%. We're absolutely terrified to go into a classroom and talk about race right now. And I think we have to hold our politicians accountable because they're putting their people in these administrative positions, very much so. Look at Purdue University, a former governor of Indiana, very hostile to progressive ways of thinking. So I don't think we can solve these issues that we're talking about without looking at the broader political economic situation in our nation states.
Yeah, I know in Canada, in the province, I know Alberta, the politicians have tried to intervene in university affairs. But I know in my own province, the universities are held to be completely autonomous and not under political influence whatsoever. That gives the government an opportunity to ignore all the problems in the universities. You go to the ombudsman, the provincial ombudsman, and they won't do anything if it's a university because it's the government stepping in. They have such autonomy. I don't know if that's true in Florida or the United States.
Walter, I agree with you. So that's just in this morning in my presentation when I talk about the portrait pattern. So those the multiple layer of portraitors, they are from 3 levels. So individual level, institutional level, and the state level. So this state level is the approach of what you just talked about. So this mobbing issue, we have to address that from 3 different levels.
Oh, you have to.
It's not just individual, not just institutional, not just the state level. It has to be the whole package of that.
And there's another factor that I'd like to add. We are being threatened at our school right now with AI. Now, that's going to come faster than you can possibly imagine. In fact, I have a colleague now who's designing courses that feature people that look like me. They're giving the lectures online. Students are, at home, and he's being paid a healthy sum of money to construct these courses so they can get rid of faculty. So a new form of mobbing will be threatening us with replacing us through artificial intelligence. I mean, consider Hollywood. There's no such thing as a special effects person. The glory days of Ray Harryhausen are gone. Where you would design, creatures and monsters and so on. It's all AI. I don't know if anyone's watched NBC, but you've seen the premiere where Steven Spielberg comes out and talks about the opening ceremonies at the Olympics, and you see these boats going down the River Seine. If you've seen the movie Under Paris, that's directly from that movie Under Paris, of the shark that invades Paris, and that's all AI. All those people you're seeing on the boats, that's all AI.
Yeah, I agree with you. So that's just the one of the motive themes of our mobbing conference is we advocate the multidisciplinary. So that's one thing. Another thing is about mobbing. So there are all kinds of course, it could touch in different areas. But another advocation for this conference and the future association of for researchers on workplace mobbing is so like Walter just I agree with you. What you talk about, there are lots of variables. So, but for mobbing scholars, we have tons of control variables, but we have a focus on our call that independent variable and dependent variable. So that the core of that is, among all the other things, is to respect people, the dignity of humans. So other people can argue, well, the economy is not good, and we have to lay off people. We have to do this. We have to do that. Or if you did something wrong, taking all of these variables under control. You have to respect people firstly, even though someone, because of all kinds of reasons, they have to be let go back home. Still have to respect them.
So it seems to me that what Peter was saying is that the very restructuring of the university makes it very difficult to appreciate individual differences, looking for flourish or making room for individuals to flourish, who gives a shit, right? It's about production. It's the production model.
Right.
And the production model, I think you're suggesting what I take from what you say, is that the production model is not only here to stay within the universities, but it's just going to get more and more reinforced by the political climate, the AI climate, and so on, because it's all about production, and we can make a better buck with it. So this notion, this now quaint but so desirable notion that there is independent thought that faculty have that is worth sharing, that's gone.
Yeah.
You know, get out of my way. You have an interesting new idea. We don't want new ideas. We want ideas that work, right? So I think one thing to consider is, so you have the structural change that's going to be more and more reinforced by this, you know, overall economic model and so on, profit and production. But then to look maybe in terms of respecting individuals and so on, at the changes in culture that come with that.
Yeah.
My experience, I'm sorry, I'm talking so long, but my experience of getting mobbed multiple times. So otherwise I'm no expert on it, but I've seen the patterns. It seems to me like part of the manipulation of the faculty, either deliberate or not deliberate, that comes from these kinds of structural changes, are this notion that you are within a culture of scarcity. There's not enough places to go around. This is a culture of competition. So your fellow faculty member is not someone to sit on the grass and the lawn and talk about ideas with.
No.
It's to defeat. And that encourages, I think, a we they mentality. So I'd like to be in a pack, right?
Yeah.
That makes me stronger. And this person that seems like a threat to me in any sort of way, such as they're a free thinker and interesting and flourishing, you know, fuck him. Let's get rid of him, because none of us want to do put ourselves out there. Right, so that makes us look bad. They're actually doing interesting academic work. Let's get rid of that person.
Yeah, 99% of the faculty are silent, really. They know that they're scared, they might lose their job. Right?
Yeah, exactly so.
But your thing about the university as a corporation, you can't do anything that harms the reputation of the university, so you can't really expose any problem in the administration of the university. Because it's like Microsoft, if you harm the reputation of the company, they don't want you. They don't want you. So it goes down to the way universities now are. The bottom line is the biggest thing, and it's the reputation.
You think we can change it?
Well, it maybe has never been the way we thought it was. That's what I was thinking. Has the university's ever been?
I think it was a much smaller world.
Peter, of the incidents that you've encountered here, whether you included in your report or not at this moment, have you ever seen cases that involve not just relatively minor issues with the character of some administrative policy or themselves personally, that issues that go to questions in the science itself, where an individual promoting one particular view, arguing that other perspectives may have perhaps a false lead, false effect, and that kind of criticism would be joined by the administration as just not collegial. We really need to defend the pluralism that exists within the university. And that no criticism should demolish a perspective of, say, in another discipline.
Yeah, I think I haven't experienced it myself, but I think Francis Widdowson is giving a talk tomorrow about how not going along with the general view on things gets you in trouble. If you give an alternative perspective to the established consensus
So
view.
ministers in that case may be gatekeepers ideologically
Yeah,
to what is acceptable argument within the university.
well, they are. I think there's reasonable limits to that, like you can't be a Holocaust denier and things like that.
Yes.
But as far as taking alternative view and bringing the evidence
Right,
forward for that view,
as long as you're not a flat earther.
yeah, I think, but my experience has been more with being mobbed because you're putting the administration in a bad light. A colleague of mine got in trouble because two deans went after him because he implied, maybe, he didn't even say it, but he implied that the death of a faculty member was tied to his being investigated by the university. And the deans complained under the respectful environment, and he was terminated. And my other colleague I know quite well is, he exposed that a lot of the university administrators and his colleagues were publishing in these pay-to-publish journals and getting promotions for it. Publishing in predatory journals and getting promotions based on it. And he had all the evidence, but he was just terminated as well for exposing that. Yeah.
So this is just a comment, and I'm wondering if anybody else agrees with it. Just since this morning, it dawned on me that if you have COVID, one of the symptoms is it's hard to breathe, or you have aches and pains. If you have chickenpox, one of the symptoms is you have red spots everywhere and you're itchy. If you're in the middle of mobbing, you live in an absolutely bizarre world. And I think every one of us has an example of bizarreness, why we were terminated, for fake facts and horrible things that happen to people. All of it is under the umbrella of batshit crazy. Right?
Yeah.
And so we could go on forever and ever, putting more data points in there, one more bizarre than the other. But I almost wish I knew. It took me 2 years to figure out what was going on. I thought I was crazy because what was going on around me was bizarre. And then when I found Ken Westhue's article, I felt relief.
Yeah.
Does anybody else feel that way? It's all the same.
I feel the same way.
I do too.
When I started meet with Ken Westhuе, read his article and met with him, I was like, I have been in my legal process for many years and it's still going on. So I just how I felt is if you leave, you will never know that. And then also,
if you leave,
if you just stop the battle, you will never know the reason. And also,
but I went through the legal process and I would give an arm to have to do it over and not go through the legal process. I fought, I assumed I was right, and right meets might, and again, like I was standing up for someone else, and I thought, surely I will meet someone along the way that will say, oh my God, how did this happen?
Yeah.
What's going on? They never seem to appear. And it's 10 years. And if I had it to do over again, what I would tell someone is, unless something magical changes where it's known and it's against some type of law, get out. Get your resume up to date. And I sunk myself into mobbing. I know more about it just trying to figure out what was going on with my life.
Yeah.
Why did I tried to convince my husband, who has Parkinson's. I didn't have the strength to do it on my own. So we sat down one day, we had tea and toast, and I said, we have had a good life. The kids are in great shape. Why can't we leave on our own terms? I tried to convince my poor husband, because I wasn't strong enough. Well, you know, nobody should have to get to there. I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I think we're all living in this what the F bubble, and I think what we're doing is giving color, as they say, to it. All right, so yours is awful, I'm sorry. Yours is the worst thing I've heard today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And at my first university, my reaction was to flee rather than fight, you know, I just wasn't gonna
That's
go through
working.
that. But at this one, again, I fought for a long time, but then in the end, I took a buyout to retire.
It's
And,
like what the
it was just not
general
worth
says, it's a genocide. It's not a battle. You can win a battle, you cannot, never win a genocide.
Moderator. Chair. Nicolo.
Questions?
I just, from a group coordination perspective, so this is why we're here. Because, and I don't know, maybe it's hopeless. I mean, heaven help me, Peter, you said intramural academic freedom is dead. I was gonna talk tomorrow about saving extramurals, so I guess that should sell. But the part of the purpose of identifying the thing and create, it's not just color. I hope, maybe it is, but I hope not, because if it's out there, then people in the bubble will find out they're in a bubble. And hopefully avert the worst consequences. That's the hope. Moreover, you know, one thing I like about my cooperation with Ching Li is I do civil law, she does criminal. And there are ways to get it. I mean, and bullying has seen that. And there was a time when people said you can't legislate against bullying. It's just First Amendment protected speech. There's no way to define it. We figured it out.
Yeah.
We figured it out with regard to harassment. I'm a First Amendment advocate. I see problems with legislating mobbing, but I believe there's an answer. And if we can have legislation, criminal recognition, I think there's a way there, but we have to organize and have it recognized academically for that.
And I think you're right, everybody being in the room gives me peace. I'm not worthless.
I learned a lot from the other.
So you look around like, she's cool. Like I was talking to Jen, I was like, she's so cool. And she's hot, oh my God, what a good group. You know what I mean? So thank you.
Jingling's about it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's okay.
no, I just wanted to say something, a horror show, I don't know if you heard what happened, made the news all over the world at West Virginia University where I am, they closed all these academic programs. May 9th, 200 faculty lost their job. And what they did to us, I want to talk about policies. Each year we get a contract, even though we're on tenure. This is what they do. Each year you get a contract and you can negotiate your contract. But they made us, when they announced the program closures, they gave us a contract. This was last year, last July. Each July we get a contract. And we had to. His first statement was, I will not criticize the university for closing these programs. And I recognize that my job can be extinguished upon publicly criticized.
Tenured faculty?
Yes.
That was in order to get a severance pay or something?
No, they actually threatened if we spoke out, we would be fired. If we didn't sign that contract that says, I'm not agreeing to this, you would be fired. Because you didn't have a contract. So how they operate at my place is, yeah, you've got tenure, but
they keep everyone who's
So,
selling something.
you know, I mean, I appreciate the sense of optimism, but I get back to this point, I don't want to belabor it. But we have to also focus, keep an eye on our political leaders, because it is now in vogue. If we haven't learned anything from DeSantis, we've learned nothing. It's in vogue to attack the academy. And you know how politicians are, they ride on this bandwagon and you know, the general public thinks, oh, you're off for the summer, you're not doing anything, you're not working, and you're lazy, and you know, you're not, you know what I mean?
They attack the faculty members, but they don't attack the administrations. Is that right?
Yeah.
The politicians.
Yeah, I mean,
Just the faculty members.
look at how many politicians are in the administration now. And you read Ginsburg.
Yes.
It's, I mean,
Yeah.
it's absolutely frightening. When you read that book, like most of us know there's that administrative bloat, but he presents really sobering data. I mean, he came to this, that was not his background by any means. And it's a really terrifying book because most of us as faculty, when we talk about trying to unite, let's not forget that the vast majority of faculty at any given institution are adjuncts, part-time, and so on. And the fear that you're talking about, Peter, is magnified.
Yeah, when you're on a short-term contract, you can't say a thing.
And especially the schools like out in BC, I know them very well.
Yeah.
and like Portland and these other places, there's so many part-time people there.
Yeah,
So, only, I want to just add, Walter, first off, with regard to Florida, I don't know if we have other attendees, but tomorrow I wish you look forward to Professor Reyes,
Yeah.
because she has an experience, which is not the central part of what she wishes to share with us, but she's in Florida, and when post-tenure review per state policy came around, guess who was first, made the first list post-tenure review? That aside, I want to add, and I want to highlight, just because Gina couldn't be with us this session, and Peter, I appreciate you spending some time on it, which was the union end. Because I think that's important not to miss, because it is another institution that piles on when you think it would not.
yeah.
And it's supposed to be there to provide a check, and yet it becomes part of the problem when we talk about all the things we have to wrestle with.
I think,
Just wanted to make a clarification. I really appreciated this discussion. But I wanted to make a clarification, especially for the sake of our, of the American participants here, that when Peter was talking about the union in Canada, we have a particular problem in Canadian law, that the Canadian Supreme Court issued something, I think it's called the Weber decision, maybe 10, 15 years ago, which says essentially that if a workplace is unionized, if there's an accredited union in the workplace, an employee cannot sue or bring a legal action against the employer. Any dispute between the employee and the employer has to go through the union, which gives the union a huge amount of power. And if the union, as Peter described, is co-opted by by management, the employee is basically screwed. You don't have any recourse.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Ken, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we went to Kathy Lace, 7 of us left Ontario Tech, 7 of us in 1 year. We went to Kathy Lace, who you might know is one of Canada's leading harassment lawyers. She's on Bay Street, she lives there. She gave us a 2-hour meeting, because we were going through hell at our place. And she said, I can't help you, because you have to go, because of the Weber decision. We, 7 of us, the union really didn't help us. We all left, and the administration was there. You know, but it is a crippling thing. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, a colleague of mine has been denied grievance about 50, 30 or 40 times by the union, and he can't go elsewhere for any help, you know, so they just, if the union doesn't like you, it's, you're in a catch-22 situation.
From what you were reporting there, it's in particular one type of union, business union. There are other types.
Yes.
Still could become
sure
corrupted,
strong
leadership still could become corrupted. But basically with the business type of union, it's a diktat for the manager, the union, to the union members, basically.
Yeah.
They run the show.
I had a line that I cut out that said, it's like in the movies, the union bosses,
Yes.
they pay themselves a lot of money out of the dues,
Yeah.
but they don't help the members. They enjoy their, well, I guess, you know, they have, any overtime is locked to vacation time. I think my union professional staff spends as much time on vacation as they do work. So,
And some of the questions, and so I hope you can read that from the virtual participant.
oh,
Yeah.
great, right.
It's better small.
Small,
This was
very
the guy.
small, yeah.
This was the guy I was mentioning.
Can you read that?
Where are they?
Within the curriculum.
No, the other one. Oh,
On the right
no,
side.
there, yeah, from Thompson.
Oh, here.
Francis, widow. widows.
Oh, yes. Right, that was the one. Union was also horrible. Yes, the union accused him of harassment as well.
Yeah, that's the Ian said, it's reading Kenny's writing on the subject was a revelation for me too. Suddenly, a lot makes sense, which hadn't done so before. It was quite Francis said, how is mobbing genocide?
Jamie, perhaps before we wrap up, Maritza Reyes' first comment, higher up, was on point to Walter's comments.
Yeah, we need to be careful not to assume that workplace mobbing is done only by or to people belonging to certain political, ideological, or racial groups. For example, I was workplace mobbed in Florida Public University, where the perpetrators, including faculty and administrators, were so-called liberal, progressive, social justice, diversity, and inclusion. People of color advocates when it was for themselves. They get a pass because they use state power. This goes to the comment or question someone raises about what is happening in Florida on the cover of the state. So this is about the union. Was the faculty member terminated for criticizing administrators
Right.
published in a predatory journal? Yeah, you already mentioned that, yes, Yeah. Yes, I also felt relieved to finally be able to have a name and a scientific explanation of the phases of workplace mobbing. In hindsight, I felt the same way as a woman who just finished speaking and said that she would tell someone to get out. Oh. That's Anne-Marie Flee. When presenters do not speak into the microphone, it is harder for virtual attendees to hear them. Please have them stand at the podium and speak into the microphone.
Well, that's my fault.
Yeah, let's just the session chair keep on reminder our presenters. All right, so we'll see you a little bit.